In this episode, Sea Changemakers meets with community developer Adrick Brock. He is from Community Garden Builders here in Vancouver. Adrick, could you tell us a little bit about what Community Garden Builders does?
So our mission at Community Garden Builders is to into temporary growing spaces. And how that looks kind of on a play-by-play is we get approached by landowners in the city and they kind of bring us in to essentially build and manage a community garden. So we will take over a site that might have previously been a gas station or strip mall and is now just a patch of gravel in the middle of the city. And we install a 100 bed garden, and we fill all of those garden beds with dirt and soil. Members of the community in to grow in those spaces, and we manage the gardens over the course of their lifetime, which usually lasts between 3 and 7 years.
What would be an example of a project that you've undertaken and its effects on the community?
The community garden that I first started in as a gardener back in 2013, I had grown up with just a little front yard garden, but had never been particularly interested in it. And then I moved to the Hastings Sunrise neighborhood, and it so happened that there was a community garden there, and that was run by Shifting Growth. And so I, got my first plot, and that was really how I got introduced to the concept of the business and the initiative that Chris started. And it was also how I got in touch with, or how I came to connect with a lot of the people in my neighborhood. So I got to learn firsthand before I became involved in the company and before I became one of our garden managers, just what it meant for the community as a community member. And it was an absolute hub. It was totally a part of people's lives. We had an enormous garden with over 200 beds just right beside the London Drugs, close to Hastings and Nanaimo. And it was to see how many people got to interact through the space. And this isn't specific to that garden. I think it's community gardens across the board. But when I think of it in the context of what that space would have been or might have been for those 5 years that it operated, it would have just been an empty lot with garbage piling up in the corners and graffiti on the fencing. While we were there and while we had the garden functioning, it was able to be a place that produced thousands of pounds of food, but also was really a social hub and a connective point for members of the community.
Tune in to Sea Changemakers podcast for the extended interview where you will learn more about Community Garden Builders and their unique online app.